All right, Javi, sounds like you want to go first.
Yes.
I think we're going to let Javi go first because he got super excited.
Got it. Cool.
Let me share my screen real quick. Okay, so I want to share something quick, but really cool. Can you guys confirm you see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what I've been working on as well is on OpenAI compatible endpoint for our agent. So basically, we used to have a reference only Vercel compatible, which means that it worked with Vercel SDK. The format in which we send the data was supporting streaming. So whenever we loaded it in the front end with their SDK, we could see how real time the message was forming, and we could see how everything was developing. Right now, we want to expand and we want to have an interface with tools which need another kind of format. In this case, OpenAI compatible endpoint. The cool thing about this is that it supports a lot of features, for example, like thinking, which I kind of got it to work like before the demo day. And what it does is it shows the train of thought behind. Even though it's not reasoning, it's not thinking, what I'm doing is I'm using that that part to showcase which tools are being used, the RAG, what is being found, which tables it's querying, and then at the end, which query it's executing. So what we will see right now is the train of thought. This tool that you're seeing here, it's called Open Web UI. It's basically like an open source ChatGPT interface. Yes, right?
Yeah, quick question. So I know OpenAI has multiple API endpoints. They have the chat completions endpoint, but they also have a separate responses endpoint, which is like newer and different. I'm curious, which one are you using?
Right now is chat completions. That's the one that always works. It's not being deprecated yet. It's the one that I think fits with the Marimo stuff we're trying to use. So I stick to that one.
Like, Ruben, do you know if Marimo supports responses? Because I know they're not deprecating chat completions, but I do think they're strongly encouraging people move to responses. Okay, never mind. If you don't know,
I guess I don't have an opinion on it. Yeah.
I think we can get.
It's more like, do we know what Marimo supports?
Yeah, we can get chat completions to work.
Yeah, I don't know actually. Yeah.
Sorry. No, go ahead. Go ahead. I'll look it up. Feel free to keep going.
Got it. So what we see right now is an interface which has some connections. In this case, we have a connection to my agent. So since everything is running on Docker, I have to expose it via internal host. But basically, let's say that 808v0 is just my agent running locally on my machine. So the cool thing about it is that we can actually pass it some questions. So we can do something like, let's say, how many projects is it in the optimism collection? The usual, the classic. And when it starts thinking and things happen. And it will give us in a step-by-step what's happening. So right now, it checked the artifacts by project collection, now the collection table, which columns, and this is, for example, how the RAG is working. So this allows us to see in real time which tables it's trying to actually see. All of this is what the RAG is telling us. And then at the end, it just generates this SQL query, which is, the result of all of the different things, and then it just finishes. So all of this is just for 25 seconds thinking. This is the solution, and this is everything that's happening in real time. I can also pass another one, for example, to list the names of these repositories, and then it will start thinking, and it will examine all the tables that are relevant for it, or that the agent is thinking in the RAG. And then once this is done, we can see the SQL that is executing, and then we can see the response. This is cool because we can see in real time, and the user can see what's happening. And well, right now it failed, but yeah, that's for trying stuff out of the demo. But yeah, we can see in real time how it's happening. I don't think I have hooked in the semantic retry. Let me see if I can super quick do a change.
Semantic workflow, or which workflow is this?
This should be the semantic retry. So that's why I don't know why this is not supposed to to happen. But it's the demo. Oh man, demo thing.
Yeah, I mean it looks like for some reason it's prefixing the column names with schema colon.
Yeah, but this is why the semantic one shines, because it's able to like retry and this actually works in the second try. But yeah, mainly what I wanted to think is like we can now have in this thinking process what's like inside of it, what's happening, so the user can have more and more insights. And in the future, I envision this happening is like we can set like different steps of like the workflows. We can set different steps, what's happening. If we have like a multi-workflow setup, when we have like this main router, and then we have all of the different ones, we can let the user in which flow his query is going, and that way we don't have to set up stuff, for example, like I don't know, Arise for observability, so that the user can already know what's happening and maybe troubleshoot. So yeah, this is going to be cool. I'm excited to see it connected to Marimo and seeing in real time what it actually does, and then at the end having the query. But yeah, this is mainly what I've been working on. I want to show. Yes, right?
Yeah, I'm also kind of curious. When it's inspecting the table schema, is it actually inspecting the table schema, or is it inspecting the semantic registry? Like, why does it need the table schema if you're using the semantic layer?
So here's the thing. I think my hypothesis is that I am in a stale branch, and this is like connected to the basic one, and what I'm showing right now is like the RAG of the basic one. That's why I didn't retry. That's why it's doing like this basic RAG. I don't know why it's not connected to the semantic one. If you guys want, I can do it.
No, it's fine. It sounds like there's still a little bit of debugging. I just want to make sure that like in our semantic workflow, like we can just do everything at the semantic layer, right? And we can just understand the registration of a model from the semantic registry, as opposed to like trying to guess like how things map from tables to like a semantic query, right? Am I understanding that correct?
No, yeah, that's how we do it in the semantic one. Everything in the semantic query, we get like the RAG for like the semantic registry, and the only thing that happens is like translate from like the semantic JSON to the SQL, and then execute and retry if it fails. But everything is happening in this semantic lambda.
I think the other thing that you're going to be, it's going to be very clear, like once you connect it to Marimo, is that Marimo, you want the SQL, you don't want the answer, right? Like Marimo doesn't want the answer. So that might require a little bit of prompt engineering once you get to that point. But no, this is cool. I am excited I like this because, yeah, I don't know that
it's doing.
Yeah, I like the thinking. The thinking is super helpful. I want to see a world where, like, I know that Carl uses various different tools, right? Like, once this is set up, you should be able to connect the OSO agent directly to Klein or whatever it is Carl's using, or Cursor, whatever you're using at any given moment. And so I don't know. I'm curious, Carl, what else do you want to see before you actually start using the OSO agent as the canonical endpoint, like LLM endpoint, for whatever tool you're using?
It's a good question. I would say that I have not done very much with it recently. I feel like I have not been using it very much recently.
Sorry, you've not been using what recently?
The OSO agent.
No. That's what I'm saying. Like, forget about the OSO
We want
agent.
you
to. Yeah. What I'm saying, like, you don't need to use the OSO agent. What I'm saying is, even if you're using Cursor, even if you're using Klein, you can configure it to use the OSO agent as the canonical provider.
Yeah. Definitely in Marimo, I feel that would be great. I'm already wanting that as I'm playing around with it. Like now, there's just like annoying workflow that I have whenever I want to do some exploratory analysis where I have to kind of spin up a kernel and drop in and run something. And I would just love to be able to do that in browser, right? With my credentials already in there and just immediately check to see if this data is here. I would be doing that all the time, right? And I would love if there is, some agentic autocomplete or kind of knowledge of the schema to help me do that. I would use that yesterday. Sorry.
Oh, Ray, you're muted.
Sorry, that's not what I'm asking. That's because that's obviously what we're already working on. I'm asking a separate question, which is specifically when you use Cursor, when you use Klein, when you use any other non-OSO tool,
Sure.
what do you want to see to be using the OSO agent as the canonical provider?
Okay. What I want to be able to see. Yeah, being able to intelligently create an intermediate model.
God, I mean, that's what I want.
I feel like, lowering the stakes a little bit, being able to create a new asset, being able to create the staging model to bring in that asset. Here's a wish list of being able to handle JSON extraction from a data set.
Yeah.
Kind of work with our macros, certainly. Like I feel that Cursor always gets lost when it's trying to understand, when to use a macro versus when to use tree node dialect, versus when to use kind of generic Postgres dialects. So those types of things.
Yeah, I'm actually I'm going to try to synthesize my version of the answer based on what you just said, which is under the hood, our chat completion workflow is powered by Gemini 2.5, right? So you can imagine a routing system in the workflow. There's a version of this, which is when you connect our chat completions interface to, say, something like Cursor or Klein, it doesn't perform any worse than Gemini 2.5. And if necessary, it just the router is smart enough to know when to route it to the text to SQL workflow and when to route it to just Gemini 2.5 raw. And if that routing system is reasonably accurate enough, then there's no reason for you not to use it because it would perform just as good. I mean, Gemini 2.5 is the leading model right now.
Sure,
right?
sure. Yeah.
So it would perform no worse than how Cursor is already performing. That would be my hypothesis. But it would require very good routing because Carl will get very frustrated if you're trying to get it to do auto completion on some random piece of code and it keeps trying to do some kind of semantic query and retry when it and fails. So I think that's an argument for a really basic router right now.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the surface area, I would say I feel like OSS directory and certain parts of the OSO monorepo feel like good places where I would assume OSO agent should be the default choice in most cases, right? Once I get into some of the other directories, that's probably not the case.
Sorry, what directories?
If I'm if I'm in Dagster, OSO Dagster, right? And there's a very clear set of things that I'm probably going to be doing in that area, right? Which is different than if I'm in the instance repo doing something like creating a notebook.
Yeah, the context is different. I agree with that. But what I'm saying is, with a good routing system, it should all be net plus, right?
Okay.
I don't know how much this makes sense to you guys, but I see a world where you have a workflow that's really tailored towards spitting out good SQL mesh models. You have a workflow that's really tailored towards spitting out good Dagster assets. You have a workflow that's really tailored towards, writing, Marimo notebooks.
Yeah.
And then if the routing system knows how to route to which one of these workflows, it'll do it. If not, it baselines to Gemini. So
sure.
If it baselines to Gemini, raw with no context, then it should perform no worse than Cursor Klein today. And in cases where it knows it can do better than Cursor Klein, it should route to one of our workflows. That's my current thought process. I'm curious how you feel about that, Javi.
Yeah, I think that's that makes a lot of sense, and that's like how it should be. Because at the baseline we have like this model which we will know that will inherently perform well, and it's what clients using in as its layer. So everything that we can add on top, is like things that we benefit from. So obviously right now, if the agent doesn't perform super well, we'll start to more and more delegate to like this Gemini model. But the better our models become, the more it will use our approaches and our tools, and that's what we want to do. So yeah, baseline is Gemini, but like we want to increase our performance in this way.
Yeah, but I think there's a really sorry, I'm talking about something completely independent from the work. First of all, we don't have any models, so I think models is the wrong word.
Yeah.
We have workflows. Second of all, I'm not talking about workflows right now. I'm just talking about routing. Like our workflows are our workflows. They perform at a certain level. You would hope they perform better. Like by definition, our workflows are ready for a certain kind of query performs better than Gemini. By definition, it has to be the case, right? Because even if it gives you the wrong answer, it has access to more things than Gemini has access to. So it is already performing better than Gemini for a certain kinds of things, like how many projects are in the optimism collection. Gemini would have no idea. There's no way for it to know. So all I'm talking about right now is the routing. If you can get the routing to be really accurate, then this would be something that we can drop in where all of us could be dogfooding this on a regular basis, right? If the routing is inaccurate, like the routing puts you into a workflow when that's not your intention in the first place, then it becomes a frustrating experience, and then you're going to want to like revert back to just using Gemini all the time, right? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. But then this routing, obviously, what are you suggesting? Do we need like a workflow or something? Because like at the end of the day, I see this like as a workflow happening, and then depending on like at the first step, it's like, hey, what is the user asking me to do? Is it like delegating to like our main flow? Does it need something special that we can use like a fine-tuned model? So is that something that you are like seeing as like investing in this routing instead of like going like performance? Is that what you're trying to say?
So I wish I had a whiteboard. Like, there's a routing workflow, and then there's sub workflows. The workflow you're working on right now is one of many sub workflows.
Yeah.
Right. Like all you're trying to do is use a semantic layer to give me an answer in an information retrieval context as accurately as possible. That sub workflow is useful, but it's not the only sub workflow that we care about, right? So there might be in the future, like Carl saying, a sub workflow that's really focused on creating DAGs for assets. And if all you're doing is trying to create DAGs for assets, I don't actually care anything about the SQL, right? So maybe there's a sub workflow for that. Maybe there's a sub workflow for creating SQL mesh models, and you need the additional context of knowing how to set up, say, how you do the partitioning, or how you do the, the grains, or how you do the scheduling, all of that. Like there's additional context that you need. And in addition to that, it might also invoke the SQL generation sub workflow, because that's part of the SQL mesh model. But the routing will determine, like, there's this DAG now of like sub workflows and routes between different sub workflows. And so maybe the main router goes straight to text to SQL. Maybe it goes to SQL mesh model sub workflow, which then goes to the text to SQL sub workflow. What I'm saying is, I think it's two different dimensions. One is the routing accurate? Like if I come in with a prompt, am I getting routed to the correct place based on my intention? That there's probably a completely different set of evals and data sets and examples of just like measuring the performance of whether or not I'm routing correctly. And then there's secondly, the question of what is the performance of my text to SQL sub workflow right now, which is fine. I think we should always improve that over time, but it is not the only workflow we care about.
Got it. Yeah, I now see your point. Yeah, I think a whiteboard would have been useful. Yes. One thing that we cannot do as well is like we cannot like hyper focus on like this small text to SQL component, because we're going to have a lot of like these different components, and our agent will perform as the sum of all of its parts, and obviously it will be how to say this, boosted by how good the routing workflow component part works. So I think that one thing that's fair to say is like we cannot just like focus on the text to SQL one. I see that when we get like a little better numbers, which is a little bit more useful, let's focus more on the routing component. Let's create like the SQL mesh workflow that you were mentioning. Let's continue in this like not only in one direction, but like let's try to expand and cover as much area as possible. And that way we will like offer even better results.
Yeah, I think our sensitivity to accuracy in these different sub workflows will be different. So for example, in the text to SQL sub workflow, you probably want to, like in certain workflows, you have different sensitivities to false positives and false negatives. In the main routing workflow, for example, I think imagine Carl using this, right? He would be really frustrated if we had a really high false positive rate, because you keep getting dumped into sub workflows that don't actually matter to what he's trying to do, right? A really high false negative rate is fine, because what that means is it always just defaults. It has a strong bias to defaulting to the Gemini workflow, the base Gemini, which is what he would be using anyway, and that's his like normal expectation. Whereas like in a different workflow, I think maybe giving an approximate answer, even if it's like a false positive, is fine. Whereas like a false negative would be worse. I don't know. I think there's like different sensitivities to how we think about the evaluation of any particular sub workflow, and I think that that's an argument for having different experiments, basically setups for each of these.
Yes, I think that right now how we're doing is we have an experiment for each like sub component, but it would make a lot of sense, and I think that what we should do in the future is I create this main pipeline, like main router experiment, and then have like evals for everything, and then also benchmark like how good we route depending on like what the agent thinks. But yeah, I think that it's really important to not lose track on like these different components and not hyper focus on one small component, because that's not what makes a good workflow. It makes a good workflow, like our ability to expand in multiple surfaces and choose accurately when to go into this surface.
Cool. Yeah. Any other questions or feedback?
I want to show something, because I changed the workflow. So let's take a look, for example, at this one, which is the one that failed earlier. Now, if we go to the thinking one, it's like the semantic one. I just need to change the base class. That's an oversight on my side. Sorry about the demo. And then it does this context retrieval thingy, which we're thinking about for the semantic translation. Here we can see the semantic translation complete, so it's querying this artifact name via repositories, and it's checking for, the OSO ones from GitHub, and then this gets generated, So yeah, it was just using the basic one. This is how it's supposed to be working. Sorry for the oversight. And yeah, we can get, for example, this one, so we can see how different it works. So let's do that. And now, as we can see, it's have 5 retries, and it will just fetch the tables for the context, and then it will do the semantic translation. This is how it's done. Yeah, okay, so let me open a new one, because what's happening is like, so this open web UI thingy fires follow-up questions to have more context for the user, and it's hidden, and it's supposed to be that, but yeah. Let's give that a new try so we can see it working. And yeah, so as you can see now, this is like, the projects by collection joined with collections by name. This is, like a bigger one, and yeah, that's basically how it works. So yeah, that's basically it.
Cool. Awesome. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So sorry for
there's so much we can do with this. I feel like this is just the beginning. Yeah. Sorry, I don't mean to be like, yeah. None of these are criticisms. These are like, this is definitely a step in a great direction, and I just like, it generates all these new ideas of like where we can go with this. So I think this is awesome.
Thank you. No, but yeah, everything that you mentioned is really like, yeah, it's the stuff that we should be thinking about. I think that one thing that I definitely do want to do is like hyper focus on one component.
Yeah, I want to see a world where we're dog fooding regularly, and this is not something that just falls to the wayside, or it's like, sorry, I didn't mean to be like dismissive either. Like, obviously, we want this in like a web interface as well, but I think if that's the only surface that we're stress testing this, then I think we have a very limited view of how to improve it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sweet. Reuven, you want to go next?
Yeah, sure. Let's do it. Okay. And this time, I'm not even going to open environment files. All right. We're just going to look look at the repo. I'm so sorry. Okay. Hold on. So let's. Okay, hold on. I'm lying because it's currently open right now. Not the one that I don't want to look at. Just an environment file is open. Open up something else. Sure. Okay, here we go. Okay, so first thing we want to look at is just how we run Dagster local. So the only thing, so if you look at the end example, I'm going to open this up on the browser so I don't accidentally open it up on my local. All you have to do is change this right here, this directory. And then you also need to add a Google project ID, which we should add to this env example. Oh, and then sorry, there's two more things you need to do. So you need to you basically need to set any of the paths in here to something that actually exist. So,
Wait, why do you
but if
need a
you,
Google project ID?
which one?
Why do you need a Google project ID?
It's we use it randomly as like we just use the string. We don't actually access any of the things. It's just like for naming conventions. So you can actually fill it with anything. So perhaps what we should do is just, if it's empty, just set a default. But
Or
that
you can-
is what
It's just for naming.
yeah, exactly. So that yeah, those are the only things you need to change from here. If you leave any of this other stuff empty, like these Google application credentials and such, that's absolutely fine. Okay, so now if we go into OSO itself, all you should have to do is uv run Dagster dev. So on my machine, I have to, in order to access it, I need to expose mine to my Tailscale net. So that's what I'm going to do here. But what did I miss? CLI. Oh, wait, it's dev-sh. Huh. Look at that. Cool. And this should load relatively quickly. So some things are expected to fail, but as long as you get to the point where it says that the web server is running, the things that fail are going to be things that either require secrets, or likely things that you probably just can't run. Don't worry about this job. This job is run automatically. I thought I disabled that locally, but perhaps I didn't. So hold on, let's run this again because that won't show up. You do this. Okay, so now you can access on this port, which for me is on my wonderful Raccoon Dojo Tailscale net. It's only for me. And you should see these here. Now, I would suggest that you Yeah, actually, yeah, we should probably always turn this one off by default. I thought it was set to that already, but I guess not. So yeah, once you're here, you can see all the assets. You can do anything you want. Should be able to run some of these.
I mean, you
The
wouldn't
hope
be able
would,
to run any of them, right?
yeah, some of these actually, yeah, many of them have require secrets, so you would need to load secrets. But there are guides to at least be able to do that.
Like we don't have the ability to test locally on a local DuckDB yet, so you wouldn't be able to run anything, right?
That is not true. Anything with DLT, and or actually, assuming that you have the right authentication for projects, actually this should work because this only uses the OSS directory, which is public, fully public.
Oh, DLT is configured to dump into a local DuckDB?
That is correct.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. So so we do that by using the resources here. So if you look for IO manager, this load IO manager, when it determines that you're like you now have to specifically enable BigQuery. So, but if it's not, it'll just return the DuckDB version of it.
Oh, nice. Sorry, I totally
Mhm.
missed it. Okay, cool.
Oh yeah,
It's
yeah.
not just DLT, it's anytime you use the IO manager.
Any IO manager or DLT, both of those are DuckDB.
Yeah, like I could create a custom Dagster asset that uses
Correct.
the IO manager and it would be fine.
Yeah.
Covered by this then, out of all the things that we have.
Yeah. So this by default, all of this should work. Assuming that you don't need any specific secrets. So if you're hitting a public endpoint with DLT, you don't even need to set up a secret, right?
Well, if I'm testing locally, then I have my local secret manager, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Sweet.
Which you can inject with, yeah. And again, there's guides on that, so I'm not going to go over it because mostly I don't remember how to do it right now. So I have to read the doc.
Awesome.
And then to load other code locations, which you probably don't need to do, the only thing you need to remember is that you just, instead of just running Dagster dev, you also need to put -m, and then this needs to point specifically to the module in Dagster that has the definitions that you want. So it would be here. It would be OSO Dagster .definitions, and then either SQL mesh or default. Those are the only two right now. So, in reality, SQL mesh doesn't actually get deployed. We only separate them specifically for local testing.
In our docs, do we give good guidance on where to dump definitions?
Yes, we do.
Oh.
Yeah. So we say, but for the most part, just go here in default. I guess actually, unfortunately, that is the only place. That's the only thing that we say right now. So I think we should probably come up with a better thing. I did note on the PR that we merged this in that we probably want like a contrib directory or something in assets, for things that are like currently not super thoroughly tested, but third party. And then that's it. Yeah. So next thing, hopefully relatively quick, is just how. So I've made some changes now. Hopefully have a PR up pretty soon. I just need to do some cleanup. We can inject code and environment into the notebook now. So yeah, I can show you how all that works. So actually, let me get my other browser because this is going to be more interesting this way. So the first thing is, okay. So the first thing you need to do is you need to get a JSON URL encoding. This is the environment, right? And then you need to base64 encode some Python code. Yeah. So this is the way we do it. Marimo does it a little bit smarter way, but I had to disable the way they do it because it was interfering with injecting the environment. So I disabled that for now. And I'll keep that on a. For everything I've been making on changes to Marimo, I've actually been, or Marimo, sorry. I've been like adding like, I would call them tags to each of the commits, like hashtag OSO or hashtag probably gonna conflict. So actually I just do hashtag conflict. Or no, I've been doing @ now because I realize hash
How does
is a
Marimo do
common.
it? How do they do it if it's not base64 encoding?
So sorry, they do base64, but they also compress. They gzip the code. We don't need to gzip because we're not going to be sharing this widely, and it's only going to go into the browser. So like, I don't really care, or it's only going to go into our specific iframe, so I don't really care. But they do it so that you can share that link.
Oh,
I
why
believe.
would gzip interfere with what we do?
Oh no, it doesn't interfere. I'm just saying that the thing that was interfering is that they would overwrite everything in the fragment identifier, so it wouldn't save the environment, and so I wouldn't be able to use it like when I was testing and stuff. So it was really annoying. Yeah. But yeah. And then so we can check this out in action. There's not too much going on here. So this is the code that I had injected. I'm just gonna refresh, but I'll show you how we can validate that the environment was set up. So import OS, environ, and that's it.
I can just
There we go.
with actual-
Tester hello. So we can also, live edit the URL. So here's the thing with fragment identifiers. If you change it, you have to actually do a hard refresh. So so if we're to do this again, last time it should have a change. Yeah, hello there. So that's it.
Nice.
Yeah. So now we can, inject code. Yeah, it's just all code equals and env equals are the two options.
But env equals is not base64 encoded.
It is not base64 encoded because, yeah, I didn't care, but we can if that makes it easier. Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess we should pick one.
Yeah, I guess we keep it consistent. Yeah.
Or just whatever we choose. Let's just pick whatever we pick. I just mean that, like, if we were to change this in the future, like if we compress today but we don't compress tomorrow, it'd be like, oh.
Okay. I understand. Yeah.
So
maybe I'll just put a version or something on it. Yeah, I guess.
You don't care to compress because
we're never going to be sharing these like
aren't there
this.
still max lengths or something?
Wait, what?
Aren't there still max, even if you don't
maybe
share?
There are. Yeah, maybe there are. I mean, max links are pretty large, but I don't know that. Yeah. I don't know what the max is. Yeah, I guess. Yeah. Let me do some thought. I can easily add the gzip stuff back in. It was not a large.
I mean, I like non-gzip because then we could do this in a console very quickly and not have to like.
That's exactly why I want to do it, so I can change this code really easily.
Yeah.
So
you raised
we
your
can
hand
make it. Oh yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, yes. I think that it would make sense to keep the gzip stuff because maybe we want to have, for example, like, how do you say this? Like tutorial, and maybe we want to put some charts, and the charts take up space of the max length.
So
you
the charts. Yeah, so it doesn't encode the results. It just encodes the cells.
So if we want to have, for example, something pre-populated, like let's say that we run like a notebook in Insights that has like a super heavy computation and generates like a graph, like something Carl does, and then you push the image. Every user needs to like recompute these like heavily.
Correct.
Yeah. Got
it. It's free compute. I'm free as in like not my compute, so
it's not ours. Yeah, yeah, we don't pay for it, so that's all that matters.
Got it.
Yeah.
I don't think in Marimo there's a way to save outputs like there is in Jupyter. You can only save.
Yeah, not by default. I don't think. Yeah, if there's anything like it's again because I think I have some ideas on this. I might actually just write these down into issues before I go. But basically, like we can content encode everything in these cells, and that means that we like content hash all of these things, right? And so we can reference like basically anything based on the content of that, right? And that means that also caching based on the content is very possible. So like we can do some interesting things because of that. And I think that like, yeah, like if a bunch of people are sharing the same set of things and the lineage of those is also equal, like we can cache all of those things for, a group of people. Right? So,
I mean, like what we talked about last week was me just setting a cache at the /SQL layer.
oh yeah, no. Sorry, I'm
is it-
thinking about this would be in addition to this if we wanted to go deeper later on, like caching, say like data frame, like output and stuff like that. So, but
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, that sounds like a P2.
yeah, no, it's not a P. It's not even a. Yeah, it's definitely a P2, P3.
You're trying to save a little bit of computation on the client side, basically, right?
Yeah, I mean, this would be this is a $10,000 a month feature. You know what I mean? Per seat.
Yeah,
So,
all right,
yeah.
fair enough. Cool.
Cool.
Okay, this is not on prod yet. Not ready to. Not ready.
Not
to
ready.
use,
Yeah. I will have a review up later today. Yeah, but yeah.
And then the SQL. Will that include the SQL PyOSO database connection thingy?
Yeah, I'm
or-
just gonna put that in there.
Okay.
Yeah. Or wait. No, let me do that one tomorrow because I want a cleaner way of doing it than I would do right now. So, yeah.
I just it would be great to have one embedded, like end to end on an OSO domain, like an iframe where we pull one of Carl's insights notebooks, inject the code, inject the right credentials, and execute it in read-only mode. Like just one before the end of the, because then we can like run with it, and we can make all sorts of notebooks, or we can change the visual layout of all these things. But yeah, but just
I would say that we're like, I could probably start doing that tomorrow. Actually,
great. Awesome.
Yeah. So that would be my goal. Cool. Yeah, that's all I got on my side. So I'm also gonna turn off my camera now. We're making dinner here, so I wanna help out a little bit, but I will be listening.
Sounds good. Do you want to go next, Carl?
Sure. I'm going to take over and show some notebooks I've been doing using Marimo right now. Anyone see?
Yep.
Okay. So a few new things that I'm going to try and demo here, apart from just showing Marimo. The first one is that we have a lot of new artifact and project sources that are now available, mainly through the artifacts by project v1 model. But just to give a quick overview of what we have. So number one, in addition to the two core sources that we've had for quite some time of OSS Directory and OP Atlas, we now also have all of the addresses that have been labeled by our friends at Open Labels Initiative. So we basically created projects around any names that they've assigned to those. In some cases, they are basically taking our name and assigning it to a set of contracts that we already have. So there's a lot of overlap, but they also have some new ones that we haven't had previously. So that's cool. Another thing that they have done is labeled bot accounts and trading arbitrage bots and things like that. So there's a whole new set of actors that we previously haven't paid any attention to, but now we can pull metrics on those types of. They're basically all lumped into one project, but it now exists as something that you can query on and filter on. I'm not showing it here, but they also have different categories. So you could look at basically trading bots by DeFi or I don't know, NFT minting platforms, et cetera. So there's ways of going in and understanding how much network activity is being driven by a set of addresses that are, part of some category that they've named. So that's cool. We also have all of the crypto ecosystems data set. This is basically just GitHub data. But the other thing that we have now is we basically took all of the package data that we had from deps.dev, and anything that appears in one of our product sources, if we have the GitHub repo, and that is also linked as the owner of the package, we can now bring that in as an artifact as well. I think this is actually really cool. It dramatically increases the number of artifacts that we have, especially around npm packages and so on. The same thing applies to crypto ecosystems. So we can see how many projects that have been registered through crypto ecosystems also have a package associated with them. Because we cover some Web2 stuff, we have much more coverage than they do of packages and so on. But this query here just gives you a sense of what the landscape looks like right now. And again, I think it's pretty cool. We have probably billions of artifacts now, maybe tens of billions in there. And we also have all of the different package managers. They have been cleaned up. I'll give another example of that, but basically anything that is Python related, that will come down to pip. Anything that is Rust related will be Rust. We kind of went with the ones that I think GitHub was using. But yeah, all 7 or 8 different package sources that they support are now included, which is cool. Any questions here? Nice. I think this was originally an issue that we opened in November of 2023. So we closed it out 2 years after identifying the possibility of being able to do this. I can now show what that looks like for Open Source Observer, our own project. So you can see, as of the last time we ran this, here are all the different artifacts that we have. It has automatically pulled our npm packages, our Python ones. It appears that we are not getting PyOSO yet, so I don't know if that's because we haven't published it to, well, actually we would have. It hasn't been picked up in the registry yet. But everything else is here.
Do we not have PyOSO listed in our own OSS directory project file?
We don't, but we don't need that anymore because we have the maintainer listed. So it should, if it's showing up in deps.dev, we should be getting it anyway. So maybe because no one else is, well, it should be getting imported. I don't know. Yeah, why wouldn't that be showing up in deps.dev?
Sorry, what's the linkage? The linkage is between the maintainer?
Yeah. Oh, so actually, when we register it in PyPy, we need to link it to our GitHub. That's probably the thing which is missing.
Do we verify that that's correct?
I think that's how it does it, because there are 2 different types of links that they make. One is if it's just an issue tracker, and the other one is if it's the source code for the package.
But those are unverified links, right? Like anybody can self-claim something.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's in the PyProject file. I literally just enter in whatever I want in that field, right?
I guess so, yeah. Is there a better way, you think, to resolve that?
You'd have to go in both directions, right?
Right. I can't do that just yet.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, you can see that for Open Source Observer. The other thing that we haven't talked about, but we are capturing every time the SBOM indexer runs, we capture the date that the dependency tree is looked at. So now we can actually start creating event models to see if things are being updated or added, removed. So just give you an example for our own packages, we can see when they're first added, last added, and the number of versions. Yes. I love being able to just spin these things up, and I'll show a few more cool features that Marimo supports. But yeah, these are, again, really cool models that are fun to demo here. The other thing that I've been working on is getting the metrics set up for retrofunding. So we now have a new set of models that'll power the Season 8 retrofunding metrics. Previously, there was some pretty advanced logic to work out all of the events and come up with the metrics. And now these are all being powered through our time series metrics. So we have these ones supported now. There'll be a few more that we add. Here's a quick preview of what that looks like for a project. You can see the metrics are coming in, and we have them through the latest month, which is great. And then the last thing I will show here, oh, sorry, I can show a pie chart here. So Marimo allows you to visualize these things out of the box. Here's an example of what that looks like. Pretty basic, but it's cool to be able to do this. What's that?
Do you know what powers this under the hood?
Yeah, it's Altair.
Oh,
It's Vega.
cool.
Yeah.
So this WYSIWYG interface is built into Marimo?
Yep.
Oh, I haven't played with that yet. That's cool.
Yeah. The other thing which I just started playing with is that you can, this is one that is pretty expensive to run. So you can basically, where is it?
Sorry, one more question about the pie chart. If I fiddle with those settings, are those saved anywhere, or I have to refiddle every time I load?
No, I think they're saved.
Oh, they're saved in the Marimo notebook.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then, yeah, the last little feature here, I guess, for Marimo, you can basically disable the reactive execution, which will basically store the most recent state of when you ran it, which is nice if you have the intensive ones. Like that query takes about 30 seconds to execute.
So what are your, curious to get your first impressions on using Marimo for a day so far?
Yeah, it's totally fine.
Totally fine. All right. Raving endorsement from Carl.
Yeah, I mean, I went from being very opinionated to now just having to use all sorts of different tools. So I don't actually.
Do you have like a very brief pros and cons list that you have in your head?
I would say like the overwhelming pro is that you can really quickly, like if I just want to explore the data, if I want to test something, it's actually super easy to go in here as opposed to anything else. Like, I don't know if you've ever used Colab, but they're probably, every time you set up a new Colab, there's maybe 6 different things you need to do in order to get it going. So you have to import your boilerplate, you have to authenticate once, twice, you have to reset your environmental variables, etc. So very, very frustrating. Hex is basically the same thing. With Jupyter, it's kind of annoying because you just have to fire up a kernel and you have to make sure that you're in the right directory and so on. So having this out of the box is very, very, very useful. There do appear to be some weird things around, I think, is it using, when it's returning these things, is it returning a polars data frame by default? I think it is, because I've noticed some weird things around indexing. Maybe.
I don't know that it does any of those things by default. I don't know that it uses that by default.
Well, let me just say.
Were you saying something, Ikuro?
Oh, I was gonna say maybe it uses pandas, no?
Yeah, I thought it used pandas as well.
I don't think it does. But we'll see. See if this can run. Okay. Yeah, it's polars.
Oh,
Good.
Wait, is it?
Yeah. So if I do
Oh,
this is a Python
sorry.
function. So if I do like set index, that's not going to work.
Oh, maybe it's I wonder if I don't import polars in, I wonder if it's going to choose to use pandas instead.
You have import polars, yeah.
Yeah, this was just part of the example thing, but I also embed it into the notebook or into the startup. So I wonder if it's got some weird, because that's unexpected. Like I guess that's kind of unexpected. Yeah, because I know that it doesn't need polars, so it's a function.
See if that works. Yeah, it still seems to be polars, but Anyway, otherwise, first impressions are good.
Oh, one thing. Does this is the sequel already, like the sequel editor already working with like a little bit of autocomplete, or like helping you
No.
write yours? No.
It doesn't appear to be. I mean, I think it will. I don't know. It might have like a basic knowledge of. It doesn't seem to know,
Like the schema.
it doesn't know which dialect I'm using. So, for instance, if I can do a count distinct, but Trino has a function called the prox distinct. It doesn't queue that.
Oh,
I think there's like no, there's no prox.
Oh,
You know-
really? Huh.
Yeah.
I thought Reuben said he already did.
Yeah,
the
it already says, so if you look at the dropdown for PyOSO, it's already aware that it's Trino, but
Mhm.
maybe
on
maybe the
bottom
SP or whatever that it's using, is like if you look at that PyOSO, if you look at the SQL cell
bottom left of
and it
the
says PyOSO,
Right.
yeah, it's got the rabbit for Trino. But
Huh.
yeah, I don't know. We'll have to look into that. That's probably a
Any,
it's got to be some Marimo thing that I just don't understand. Yeah.
any
Another,
cons you think of?
any cons?
Yeah.
Nothing that I've come across yet. Again, I've really just been dipping my toes in the water, but everything seems pretty good.
Oh, all right, cool. That's as good of an endorsement as we can get.
I mean, okay. The one thing that I don't like is the environmental variables. We talked about that.
Okay.
how
Yeah.
how is that the environment variable there?
Yeah, I literally just there's nowhere I can save them privately. So I have a thing at the very top.
Yeah,
there.
I was looking at how Marimo did it. I got to do a little bit more research because there's a way that they do it on their version of it, but that's not exposed really easily via like config. So, like, I guess the thing that I just made allows us to inject whatever we want in the environment, and
Right.
we can do however we want that way. But I can also look if they have a special way of doing it to make it a little bit more predictable. But my way also works right now. So.
I mean,
Yeah, I would assume we're going to be saving environment variables in our own secret manager in the future and injecting it right into the iframe. Is that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But how would the user add more secrets? Like if they want to connect to something else.
I mean, we would have our own UX, right?
Oh, okay. It wouldn't
Yeah,
be
exactly.
right at the notebook.
I mean, then yeah, I don't think we want to store that kind of logic in our Marimo fork because that's all in an iframe. So that's not. I mean, we can always add features in there in the fork if we wanted to, but I think anything user facing, we probably want to keep
Yeah, I'm
our own code.
trying to do as little as possible in the fork as I can. Yeah.
yeah. So just quickly, I was imagining something like Hex's interface, which is, you just basically have your secrets right here.
Yeah, exactly. So imagine OSO. The right side is an iframe where the secrets are being injected.
Yeah.
The left side is our sidebar or our whatever in our secrets manager, and we're injecting into the iframe, right? That's probably how I would do it.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Cool.
Solvable, all solvable. Very good. Ikura, are we ready to demo any of the data replication stuff?
Not yet. I need to finish testing some stuff.
Okay. I saw you merge and I got excited. All right. Cool. Yeah, I can go really briefly. I'm going to be as quick as humanly possible since we're like already 10 minutes over. Sorry, all of you guys have already seen this, but I just want to show what it looks like in Plasmic real quick, just so that if anybody needs to make edits, it's like intuitively obvious what I did. So one thing I'll point out to you, Carl, because I think you missed this demo. I added a bunch of cursor roles Oh, here.
Yeah,
I don't
so you
know.
told me this. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So really, I use it pretty reliably now in Klein. You know, I just ask it to register like some SHAD-CN component in Plasmic. And it's really tailored towards things that are in the SHAD-CN directory. So that would be here. I haven't registered everything yet. So, you know, other people might need to invoke this. But, you know, I've imported dropdowns. I've imported navigation menu. I've imported sidebar, skeleton, and tooltip and tabs, and maybe table, I think. But I haven't imported everything else. So it's a limited subset right now. Once they're imported, you know, because they're in the index file. So they're here. So if it's not in here, it's not imported into Plasmic yet. And then inside Plasmic, let me see if I can do a side-by-side. Okay, so here's the SHAD-CN documentation, and I'll just like walk through kind of what this looks like when I'm actually developing. So one of the things that I really like about their website is they have these like pre-made blocks that are like, oh, okay, if I want to make it look like this, what would I do? So here is an example of, I borrowed this styling for the settings. So you can go into code, go into sidebar, and you can see exactly how the hierarchy looks like. So, you know, this is defining the header, this is defining the groupings, and this is how you define the sub menu item. So the menu sub item is the thing with the vertical bar on the left. So coming back into Plasmic, what does this look like? If you actually go, so right now I just have it embedded in the layout. So if you go to layout settings, this is the component that I use to wrap anything that's a settings page. And if you go into the hierarchy here, you'll see that it actually corresponds one-to-one with like the hierarchy inside what's shown in SHAD-CN. So it goes like content group, menu item, menu sub item, menu sub button. And then over here, you'll see it's exactly the same. Almost all of these components are very limited functionality, very limited styling. So that's actually quite nice for us. What that means is they almost always just accept one setting, which is the children. And so all you got to do is like, this makes it like trivially easy to reorganize things, which I think is nice. And then when it actually comes down to the text, you can style the text still. So if you want to like change the weight or change the size and stuff like that, you can still do that. But everything else is like very minimal, which I like that decision that they made. Same thing would be true for, you know, the nav bar. So our version is called header, and then inside here you'll see yeah, like inside the pop-up, this is all Plasmic styling. So what's inside here, all of this is actually styled in Plasmic. I'm only using SHAD-CN for the behavior and interactions. So anyway, that's, yeah, roughly my workflow, if anybody has any questions.
Looking good.
Yeah, so TLDR, register SHAD-CN components in Plasmic, and then visually drag and drop, lay them out the way that you want, and then publish. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, but you know, ping me if anybody has questions.
And they have mobile variants as well, or do you have to customize that?
So it does get a little bit complicated because there are variants in code and then there's Plasmic variants, right? I try to minimize how much I'm using variants in code, but like let me give a couple examples. usually there are ways to do visual variants, and then there are ways to do behavioral variants. So let me give you an example of a behavioral variant. Like behavioral variants, it makes sense to put into code because you know, it requires code to actually do them. So here's a good example. I want my drop-down menu content. I want my drop-down menu content to appear on the right side as opposed to the top side or the bottom side or the left side. I want it to be on the right side. So there are these variants that you can define in code, and I try to make them only behavior-based. There are also ways to use Tailwind to make like different visual renderings, and there's a couple of them that I actually do keep. So what is a good example of that? I think inside menu button. Yeah. So here's a good example of a visual one that I have like a default small, medium, large for sidebar menu. I don't know. I mean, these are the types of things we could just do in Plasmic variants, but once it's in code, it's like if you want to change them, yeah, you have to edit in code, and you have to know the magic Tailwind utility that does it. But by and large, for the most part, I try to keep the visual styling stuff in Plasmic and then the behavior in code as much as possible. But yeah, I guess default and outline variants is another good example. But yeah, any other questions? Cool. We're running. I feel like I can almost taste it, like having an end-to-end visual experience.
Real front end.
Yeah, like actually building, you know, I mean, it doesn't have to be the most complex notebook, but a simple notebook with OSO agent populating stuff, like it's so close. Like a couple more sprints, I think we got a really good demo day coming up. Cool. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, I'll see you guys later.
See ya.
Cool. Ciao, ciao.
Later, guys.
Bye-bye.
I am gonna eat some dinner. Yeah. Yeah.